everybody, welcome back to another episode of Just Be Kind, and I'm your host, Matthew Plotner. I will be honest, I was planning on an episode today tackling some myths and misconceptions and whatnot, and I started researching that. I even wrote the episode out. Today I'm not working from my normal notes, so if I'm not quite as, we'll call it, fluid and polished, because I know I just sound so incredibly polished in each episode. So anyway, if I'm not all that complete in my thought process today, it's because I'm not dealing with my same notes and whatnot in front of me that I normally have. That being said, I want to talk about the myths and misconceptions that surround schizophrenia, bipolar, ADHD, but I don't want to do it from what felt like I don't want to do it from a place that felt insincere. Every article I came across, everything I read felt like it was a copy and paste of something that came before it. Nobody felt like they were actually talking to people who deal with this stuff on a day-to-day basis. It felt like it was some very sterilized, copied and pasted thesis that somebody wrote about what they feel like there are misconceptions and things that people who deal with this struggle with. And it's not what I want it to be. It's not what I want us to be. It's not what I want to present you guys. What I'm going to present today, going to be a little personal, but that's what I want, because I want the myths and the misconceptions to be real that we face day to day and to be personal. And what could be more personal than sharing my own misconception that led me to finally seek help and realize that maybe there is more going on than just depression or just bipolar. Let's start with I've been down some very, very dark roads over the past 4 years. It's 2024, so 2019, start of the pandemic. Like a lot of people, I fell victim to job loss, and it still has been affecting a lot of what I deal with. Is the underemployment, the unemployment, the inability to find a job. And it got me in the early days of the struggle to find work. It got me in a very dark place. And I knew I was depressed. I knew there was something going on in my head. Anyway, thank goodness I'm married to a wonderful woman who recognized way better than I did that there was something going on. She stopped my first plan, not really an attempt, my first suicide plan, and got me the help. And I didn't realize how much help I really needed until I started talking to my wife, and where I realized I started to have a break from reality. And it wasn't even that I realized at the time. So here's the messed up part, and here's what broke my sense of self for a minute. Is the ideas that we always hear, that I always heard anyway, about schizophrenia, is that it involves hallucinations. It involves seeing things, hearing things, this break from reality. And nobody really explains, at least they never explained to me, what that really means. My mom has dealt with these illnesses her whole life, and I still, to this day, or to that day, didn't know what it really meant. So I'm hoping that this might clear some of that up. Anyway, what I found is my break from reality came in this wholehearted belief in studying things, that I had slipped realities. I had slipped dimensions. I had slipped into an alternate sense, an alternate me, if you will. And I was 100% convinced on this for two simple reasons. One, there's a road behind kind of the back ways to my house, to one of the bigger cities we live near. And there were some buildings that I was 100% convinced had changed There were 2 old burned down buildings, and now there were 3, and an extra building that wasn't burned down but just abandoned. And they weren't there prior to this getting a hold of the doctor and this weekend of just this bad dark weekend. And another one that messed with my head and still messes with my head to this day, because I don't understand how the brain does this. It's fascinating to me how our mind does this. But there was a billboard going to another larger city that we live near. And this billboard was there for the entire time we've owned our home. I remember I'd drive by and I could tell you to this day what was on these billboards. I know I can see them as if they're still standing there. Nobody knows what I'm talking about. They're 2 billboards. They've never existed. Nobody's ever seen them. Nobody knows what the fuck I'm talking about. And I'm the only one that knows these billboards ever existed, apparently. So it's that, right? I'm the only one that sees these billboards or know they existed. That was what I had believed. That's what I had caused myself in my unwell state to believe. And not knowing that right there is a pure sign of schizophrenia. It's a break from reality, but I didn't see it as a break from reality. I saw it as my reality was changed. So I don't know if that makes any sense. You can't have a break from a reality if your reality is altered because you've changed dimensions. And I was convinced. Nobody, not even my therapist at the time who I had just started seeing, not even he could convince me that that was different. And it took a year with the therapist, and it took years of talking to my wife for me to even accept the fact that my mind, my sick mind, my brain in a very dark place had created this reality for itself. And I was living in this bubble of reality because I couldn't accept that maybe I did have this illness that went deeper than just bipolar or just ADHD that really did border onto schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, whatever they finally wound up diagnosing me with. But I couldn't accept that because in my mind that they couldn't be that, because I knew what that was. I'd lived with that with my mother's diagnosis for years in the 90s and early 2000s. And we're all convinced that that's hallucinations, that's seeing things, talking to people that aren't there, hearing voices that aren't there, right? That these people who have schizophrenia, that's what they deal with, and they're crazy. They walk around all day and they talk to themselves and they do all of these things that are just outlandish, and I didn't do any of these things, so I couldn't be that. There's no way. I'm just a little depressed. We'll get through it. And here I am. It's 2024, 4 years later, still taking my meds and fighting this same battle day to day, not knowing that 4 years ago I should have gotten help for this. Hell, probably earlier than that, had I really broken down the stigmas and the misconceptions that I had about it and the things that were just plain wrong that I had come to believe because of wrong information given to us in the 90s and early 2000s. I'm babbling at the end of this episode, and I apologize for that, and I'm getting bad audio now. Anyway, I want to know, what were your misconceptions? What were some of the things that you thought were true about schizophrenia or bipolar or ADHD that turned out to not be true, that either blocked your diagnosis or somebody else that you know's diagnosis, or that it just affected you in some way? Let me know. Share your thoughts, your ideas, your comments in the audio. Send me an email. I want to hear from you guys. I want to share the inside of what it means to have this disorder, this disease, this, with whatever we want to call it. I don't know. I hate all of those terms. I'm trying to find a better one. Work with me. We'll find a better idea. Mental health, illness. I don't know. I still don't like that. Anyway, that being said, let me know what you guys think. Share with me your insights, your ideas, your struggles, your pains. I want to hear. Thank you guys so much. And remember, just be kind to yourself and others.